How do there, guys, and welcome back to Edgar TV. Today we're going to look at a rule change in the PDC that is coming into effect, and it's going to make quite a sizable difference in regards to a season, in regards to the rankings, and how players are going to be moving up and down in positions. First thing we're going to do, though, we're going to focus on a real positive that has come out of the PDC in the last 24 hours. That is that the Players' Championship funds will be going up once again. £750,000 investment going to be made into the Pro Tour. That means now if you're going out in the second round, winning just one game on the Pro Tour makes you £1,000. Now, when I first started in the PDC in 2011, we thought we had it great. We was paying £105 a tournament with the chance of winning 200 for winning your first match. You won your board, you got 600. Look how far the game has grown. £1,000 just for reaching the second round. And one thing I really like about this from the PDC is the fact of filtering down. One of the things that the PDC have been criticised for over times is just making the top end very heavy, like constantly rewarding those sort of very latter stages, which only benefits the real elite of the sport. This real good move by the PDC to filter that prize money right the way down to what would be the top 64, the second round, the top 64, which is where I'm saying at the moment you need to be a professional dart player. Top 64, and this further confirms that 64 players will be professional players. Now, the other reason I like this from the PDC is due to the fact that they've gone from a part-time midweek schedule to a full-time midweek schedule. So again, filtering the money and the prize money down the system, real good move from the PDC. The second move, though, I've certainly seen on social media causing a couple of different debates and thoughts. That is the changing of how the European Tour qualification system works. Now, you might think this is quite a small thing, but actually this is huge, and I'm going to break it down and show you just why this move has been such a sizable change. So the first thing to show you is the rankings. Now, what this is, here is your 1 year ranking system within the PDC, 2 year ranking system, sorry, within the PDC. Your top 16 on your main order of merit. How the Pro Tour order of merit works is that's a 1 year system, and this is how they used to pick the players for the European Tour. So using this system, you'd have had people like Ricardo Petresco, Ryan Searle, Gary Anderson, Christopher Tysky, Josh Rock, for example, would have been seeds for the European Tour. Instead, they're now going to use this one, the main order of merit, the top 16. So that means people like Peter Wright, who's had a bad year, will now be seeded for the European Tours. People like Nathan Aspinall, again, has had a bad year on that 1 year system, will be seeded for the European Tours, as will players like Bunting and Doby, who have recently gone into the world's top 16. Now, this is causing a little bit of debate. Should they have stuck to the 1 year system or the 2 year? The 1 year system obviously gives us the more informed players at the European Tour, where the 2 year system potentially will give us players that are not quite in the best of form at the moment. However, this is where we're going to go with that for and against debate, because I think I can see the positives and I can see the negatives in this one, and I don't know which side of the fence I sit on. So what I'll do, I'll give you all the information you need, and then from there you can decide if it's positive or negative. Let me know in the comments section which you think it is. Is it a good thing or is this a bad thing for the game of darts? Let's start with the positive. So the first thing is that 2 year ranking system. That is over a larger sample of events, so we're always going to get our top players come to the top end of that one. It makes it easier for things such as the Premier League. Look at someone like Chris Doby last year, who was outside the world's top 16, who had the Premier League, he had the European Tour qualifiers, he then had the Pro Tours, then he'd have the European Tours, and there was so many different bits that go on with that. As a qualifier in the European Tour, that means you play on the Friday, where the seeds come in on the Saturday, so it makes it easier for the players that are in the Premier League, and they are traditionally going to be the players that are in the top 16 of the world, bar something, a miracle happening, like the Luke Littler incident, where we're seeing him reach the final of the World Championships. Now, the other thing we're using that top 16 order of merit is we're going to get more recognisable faces. So one of the things that, as the promoter, PDC Europe, will want to do is they're going to want to be selling tickets to these events. Now, when they sell the ticket to this event, they want the more recognisable faces. Are you going to get people like the match play champion Nathan Aspinall, the European champion Peter Wright? Are these people going to go to European Tour qualifiers? Maybe not, which means we do run the risk of them not even being at the European Tour. Now, I get the counter argument. Maybe they're not good enough to be there at the moment if they don't fit the criteria. But they are. It's just, will they then go to those qualifiers and have the time and the scheduling with the Premier League as well to be able to then go get into those events? So I get it from the promotional side and the side of the recognisable faces. I also get it in terms of the staircase. And if you're not sure what the staircasing is, I'll be doing a video on this at the back end of Q School to explain what the PDC staircasing system is. Hit the subscribe button down below, and it just makes hitting that top 16 a little bit more lucrative. However, you got the flip side. The flip side is, are we seeing the same players all the time? Will it become a little bit boring seeing the same players all the time? The other thing is, we run the risk of potential elitism in the fact that now it's going to be even harder to get into the top 16, to break the top 16. We're not going to see as much changing in the rankings towards the top 16. Now, maybe the argument is we've seen too much changing in the top 16, the rankings, which is maybe why this rule came into place. But put it this way, for example. So, if you're in the top 16, one thing you are guaranteed is the World Match Play, £10,000. You get the World Grand Prix, £7,500. You are seeded for the World Championship, that is £15,000. You will now be seeded for the 13 European Tour events. Let's say you just win... Let's say you win less than half of your matches on the European Tour. Let's say we get £15,000. We'll put £15,000 on here as a European Tour, just for winning 5 or so games a year, having less than a 50% turnover on the European Tour. Now that gives you £47,500. Now you'll get that for 2 years. So over a 2-year system, if you come off the PDC Q School and you want to get into the top 16, or you want to challenge the top 16, you're going to need roughly about £95,000 just to draw level. And that doesn't give you the opportunity of events such as the World Match Play, the World Grand Prix, where I've put them out as £10,000, but if they win one match, that will go up sizably. And to get into that opportunity, you've again got to outperform them, despite the fact they've got that head start already. So I don't see it being a good thing for someone coming onto the tour who has ambitions of getting into that 16. Imagine someone like Josh Rock. Look at the level he's had to produce. He is currently the 9th best player according to stats in the world, but he's only reached the top sort of 21, 2, 3 sort of area. And for him now to break that 16 is going to be even harder, especially now he's defending money as well, that is coming to his second year. So I don't think we're going to see much change now in terms of the top 16, but maybe that's what they want, because maybe what they want is they want people to have to win the titles to get in the top 16, which is where this is going to go. No longer will you be sort of able to get into that sort of top echelons of the sport now by being a consistent player who reaches quarterfinals, etc. You're going to have to be picking up titles now to get into that top 16. So maybe it strengthens the position a little bit, but it certainly weakens it in terms of the opposition being able to come in and take those places. And if you're unfamiliar with how the ranking system works and you're thinking, Matt, why are you banging on about the top 16? There's 128 players in the tour. Let's focus on some of the other bits. It's not all about the top 16. Well, actually, now this rule coming into change, we're not going to see too much in terms of the top 16. Certainly at the start of the year, we don't really get a lot of the major events until the World Match Play comes in July, and then it's sort of all heavy at the back end of the year. That means the front part of the season, we are very likely to see very little change, if any, in the top 16. Maybe the 16-15 sort of place might move a little bit. The UK Open may cause a little bit of movement, but in general, that top 16 is going to be set. Now, this will then dictate how players qualify for TV events. So the players qualify for TV events of the Pro Tour Order Merit and the European Tour Order Merit if you're not in the top 16/32, depending on what event it is. So we could get a player do okay in the European Tours, just make the third round, win a couple of first round games, because they'll come in round 2 as a seed. So win a couple of third round games. That'll bump them completely up the order of merit, which means they're likely to be in the European Championship, so another TV event off the back of this. But also, if they do drop out the top 16, the likelihood is they'll just go into the other pool and they'll still be in those big events like the Match Play, the Grand Prix, etc. So this is quite a sizable change that will really protect those top 16 players. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Please do pop a like on the video if you're enjoying your content. I'm going to be covering everything darts related right here on Edgar TV, so make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you plenty more times in 2024.
Edgar TV.